Everyone, it's Mrs. Martinez with Martinez Art Lab. Today we are looking and working in Adobe Illustrator 2020 and we'll be creating a vinyl shirt design. So this will be cut out in vinyl and it'll be a heat transfer vinyl so you can iron it onto a t-shirt. So because we're working in vinyl, we're going to do this design in one color, and it's going to be a very simplistic design in terms of shapes and cuts. So you have to think about this a little differently. Rather than it being printed on paper, it's going to be cut out. So first thing we're going to do is open Adobe Illustrator. Before you get to the point where you're working in Adobe Illustrator, this is something that you have spent time brainstorming. This is something you spent time sketching and planning to get to this point and be able to open Adobe Illustrator. When you get here, you're going to click Create New. We're going to use the default version because this is the smallest default we have. So actually we'll go down to letter and you can just kind of check yourself by changing points to inches. We're going to just print this on a letter size paper and my design is not going to take up the whole paper, so I'm not even really worried about the orientation, whether it's portrait or landscape. So I'm going to just leave it as is. It's on portrait. I'm going to leave all the defaults and click Create. So now that I've got my artboard in front of me, I can go ahead and go over to these tools. Just a couple reminders with the tools. I'm going to show you the pen tool. We can just do a click, click, click. My first click and last click will make a shape. I can use my fill or my stroke. My fill is the inside color. My stroke is the outside color. I'm going to delete that by just pressing delete on my keyboard. Now I'll go over to my shapes tool, rectangle, ellipse, polygon, star. If I choose star, left click and drag. I've just made an enormous star. If I need to move it, I'm going to go up to my select arrow to be able to move it down and move it around. Let's change it to pink, and I'll make my stroke black, but I will make it a little bit thicker so you can really see the outline. Click off to the side. We don't need that though, so I'll use my select arrow to select it and delete it. You've got your eraser tool right here. Those are the basic tools we're going to be using today. We have our curvature tool, which I'll choose it when I click, click, click. Remember, click, click. It's making curved pen lines, I guess we could describe it. I will delete that. And then my last tool I'll show you is the paintbrush tool. Remember, this is the tool where we can just draw, okay? If I want it thicker, I can click this drop down and I can choose a thicker brush. I can choose the different types of brushes. I just chose thicker, so I'll show you by just drawing, and you can see the difference. Now, if I want to move, I could click my selection tool, select it. I could resize this, so I could kind of move the shape of my line or redefine it. I'm going to delete that, or I could just move it with my selection tool, and I will delete that. Now, that was a very basic, very quick reminder of the tools that we're using or can use in Adobe Illustrator. And I'm going to go ahead and make my logo right now. Now, the one rule I have for you is I do not want you to use text. So we're just using shapes, lines, patterns to make our logo. So my logo, I will dive right in and have it illustrate my 3 children and I. So I will pick my ellipse tool and I'm just going to make an ellipse. Now that I've got my ellipse, remember we're using, we are going to use one color for this. So I am actually going to have my fill color be black. And my stroke color can be black or it can be translucent if I need it to be, or whatever color to match my shape. So I'm going to click off to the side. I'll choose my select tool and kind of click off to the side just so I can move it. Doesn't really matter where I'm going because I'm eventually going to cut this out anyways. I want it to be more of an ellipse, so I'm going to just move that, click off to the side. Now I'm going to go back to my ellipse and I'm going to hold down shift on my keyboard and draw because I want to make I wanted to make a perfect circle. So when I held down shift, it made a circle instead of an ellipse. And now I'm going to make that fill color white because I want it to show my 3 children. So I'm going to edit. And I'm going to copy, then I'm going to paste and paste. Now I've got these. I'm using my select arrow, and I'll just kind of change the sizes of some of these. So there are 3 different sizes. I have one perfect circle, and then I have a couple of ellipses. So my very, very simple design. Now I just kind of moving my composition to make sure that I've got it where I want it. Okay. There we go. Now I want to change the direction of this, but in order to do that, I need to group my items so they can all move together. So I will left click and drag over my shape to select everything. And now I'm going to go to, I'm going to group these objects. So let me find my option. It's under object and group. And now I'm grouping my, so now these are all one shape. So I can go to the anchor box, left click and drag, and it will change my entire shape if I want the size changed, or I can move my entire shape. Okay, now I'm going to go to the corner, and when my arrow changes to this, I'm going to left click and drag to move my shape to where I want it. I actually want it vertical like such. Now I can click back on that, and I'm going to go to object and ungroup because I want to be able to move my circles around a little bit. Then I'm going to wait until my arrow changes so I can rotate this. There we go. So last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my colors up. So I'm going to click on my larger ellipse and click my fill. I'm going to change it to white. And then I'm going to change my stroke to black. And I'm going to make that stroke nice and thick. So I'm going to change it to 15. Now I vaguely remember where my circles were, so I'm going to go back to them. I'm going to change the fill to black. Because remember, we need to think in terms of this being something that's going to be cut out. All right, so this is my logo that I am going to have printed out onto vinyl. This is me and my 3 kids being represented. So again, this is something that you're planning out, brainstorming, then planning, then sketching before you open Illustrator. So the last thing that you're going to do before you exit out of this is save this. So when I click on File, I'm going to go to Export and Export As, and I'm going to choose a JPEG file for this, and I'm going to put my name, and I'm going to put _ vinyl logo, and I'll save it wherever I need to, and I will click Export. I'm going to leave all the options the same. Click OK. And now I've got my file exported and saved. Have fun making your vinyl logo.